Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to another edition of ESBR Boxing. I'm Thomas, joined by my colleague Paul. Today we'll be discussing our final predictions for Dennis Berinchyk against Keyshawn Davis. Just shortly upon us here. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, interact with our content any way you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. So, Keyshawn Davis is going to be challenging for his first world title against Dennis Berinchyk. Uh, Without further ado, let's just get straight into the predictions here. Paul, how do you see it going down, man?
Yeah, thanks, Thomas, as always, mate. It's a fight I'm looking forward to. I think, you know, Berinchyks a good champion. Maybe not the strongest champion at lightweight, in my opinion, but he's won a few fights as the underdog, certainly. Um, the interesting thing for me here, Thomas, is if you had have asked me this 6 months ago, maybe, um, I wouldn't have been as confident. But now I firmly believe Keyshawn Davis becomes the WBO World Lightweight Champion on Saturday night here. I think he showed in his last fight, albeit Lemos maybe not the level that we thought he was going to be, but he gave Richardson Hitchens a lot of problems at a different weight. Came in overweight against Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis blew him out of there. Looks like he was hitting harder than ever. I think he wins. Although I say he's hitting harder than ever, I don't actually think he'll stop Dennis Berinchyk personally. I could see this going the full 12, but I believe we'll have a new champion, and I believe Keyshawn Davis will be victorious via decision, and will have the new WBO belt around his waist. What about you, mate?
Yeah, I hate to be boring, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's how I see this one going. I do think Dennis Berinchyk will last the full 12. He's a very skillful guy. Not, I mean, not the most pretty to watch. You know, against Navarrete in his last fight. Put on a great performance, obviously. Wasn't necessarily pretty, but I feel like a lot of that has to do with Navarrete. Um, but I just I don't really see, although he is quite skilled, I don't see him really. I don't think he really has the like Keyshawn Davis is just so physically talented. Um, I would have a hard time believing that he wouldn't be able to overcome someone like Berinchyk. So yeah, I see Davis winning pretty handily here. Maybe 9 rounds to three, 10 rounds to two kind of fight. And yeah, I see him getting his hands on that belt, and which leads me to my next question. How do you think he fares against the other champions in the division, and or who do you want to, what would you want to see him do afterwards?
Yeah, mate, that's kind of the interesting one. Obviously, he does have a job to do against Berinchyk here, but if he does so, like you and I are predicting, and we could be wrong, of course, we've been wrong in the past. Um, I think the landscape at lightweight is, I don't think he would be, well, obviously he'd have a belt, so you'd maybe put him in the top 4 or 5, but I don't think, you look at that fight that's happening on February 22nd, a week after in Saudi, Shakur Stevenson, do people still think he's the best lightweight in the world? I would be backing Shakur Stevenson to beat Keyshawn Davis. Tank, suppose we'll see him again at the beginning of March against Lamont Roach. Tank, like, I love watching Tank, but again, he seems to fight a lot of fighters who are maybe not natural lightweights. I know he's not really a natural lightweight. He could probably compete at super feather. Um, but Laurent Roach is a career super feather. Isaac Cruz was down in that weight division before. He's fought a lot of people coming up in the weights, and any established lightweights he has beaten, haven't been great. Your Rolly Romero's of this world, your Hector Luis Garcia's of this world. I think that's a really intriguing fight. Couldn't go out. I couldn't sit here and call Keyshawn Davis to win that fight straight up. I think you can never really back against Tank. The only person I would confidently back against Tank would be Shakur Stevenson. But without getting that's a story for another video. But yeah, I think with Keyshawn Davis, you gotta. he's definitely got a chance in all of these fights, but he certainly, if he becomes champion, wouldn't be the strongest champion for me, mate.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I definitely think that when you do have guys like I'm sorry, Javante Davis and Shakur into the division as well, there's, they it would be tough to rise above those two guys. Um so yeah, I personally I would love to see him match up against Shakur or Javante, but you know, I wonder whether or not those fights would actually take place. Um, but we shall see. Just quickly, um, I wanted to, how do you think he would fare against uh, Davis, against Gervonta?
No, if they were to fight next,
Yes.
I'd still be back in tank to win that, mate. I think at this stage, but another couple of years down the line, depending on how he looks, if he looks amazing against Berinchyk and maybe even stops him, then you're starting to think, oh, here we go. Maybe Keyshawn Davis is the guy. Still very young, still hasn't had a whole bunch of fights, has he? Really in the pro ranks? Um, but I'd be back in tank still. What about you, Thomas?
Yeah, I would for sure. Just based off of what I've seen right now, I would probably pick Tank. I feel like uh, he he's fought a lot, kind of, a few similar guys who are, talented, unbeaten, uh, skilled, but I think Javante, uh, he ends up catching up to people like that, like he did with Frank Martin. So it would be hard for me to. We got to see what Keyshawn Davis does next. So I think obviously against Berinchyk, we're really going to find out. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing is just how well because we really don't know, right? Just how well Keyshawn uh, will perform on this stage because Berinchyk is a big step up from what he has been facing as well. So we'll see how he fares in that one. Let us know how you think it's going to go down. Do you think that Berinchyk will win and keep his title, or do you agree with us? You think that Keyshawn Davis is going to pull off the win and take his belt? So yeah, let us know. Interact with our content any way you can. And Paul, thank you for joining.
Cheers, mate. All the best.